Welcome back to Thoughts from a Bookworm. I'm Abigail Grace. Today we are going to be talking about the third installment in the Lunar Chronicles, which is Cress, which is my favorite. I know I ranted and raved about Cinder, and I still stand by everything I said. That book is brilliant. It's such a good, just well-written, textbook definition of a well-written book. I love it so much. But Cress is my favorite in terms of characters, in terms of story, in terms of plot development. It's just my favorite book. It's not the thickest. Winter is the thickest book, but Cress is thicker than Scarlet. They get progressively thicker, which is kind of cool, but Cress is my absolute favorite book. I think I read that book for the first time in summer, because every time I read that book, it literally just brings me back to summer. I just want to go to the beach, I want to go camping, I want to go in the pool. I just feel very summer when I read that book. And I don't know if that's because I actually did read it in summer or if because the majority of the book takes place in the desert where there's sand and there's heat. I don't know. But regardless, I absolutely love this book and I'm so excited to finally be talking about it. I love the parallelism between Rapunzel in her tower, Cress in her satellite. There's definite similarities, and I like how the author stuck to the original Grimm brothers fairy tale version of, I almost said Cinderella, of Rapunzel for this, Thorn losing his sight, his last name being Thorn, which was really cool. There was some connection between the name Rampion that, in the original fairy tale, the plant that Rapunzel's mom ate when she was pregnant was short for, it was Cress had a name in it, but then it was translated to Rampion. It was from a Rampion flower. I don't know. There was some big, long, tie-in to the name Rampion of the spaceship, which again I thought was really cool and just brilliant of the author. I like that we get kind of a flip in Thorn's character, because up until that point he's just been very charismatic, and which he still is in Cress, but he doesn't have his eyesight, so he's kind of literally relying on his other senses, and he's still equally as charismatic and fun and goofy, and I absolutely love him for that. I also so love, okay, this is really stupid, I love the miscommunication trope. I know it's kind of dumb, if it's not done well, but when Cress came down from in the hotel, she sees Thorn on, in the gambling room with the pretty escort on his lap. He's not thinking anything, he's not, trying to flirt with her or anything like that. He's thinking, oh, cool, there's this escort droid we can get for Eco. Cress doesn't know that. She comes down, she sees him, she gets upset. That's how she ends up getting kidnapped. That kind of stuff I like, because it kind of builds tension. I don't know. I like knowing stuff that the characters in the book don't. I like being informed before the characters do, if that makes sense. I really like that scene. I like how he cut her hair in the satellite with a knife, which is kind of a throwback to Tangled. Flynn cut her hair with the shard of glass. Because we're also introduced now to a third character, we're getting between 3 and 4 POVs that we're rotating between. I'm gonna sneeze. But it doesn't feel overwhelming, and it doesn't feel oh shoot, we're at this character now, or oh I didn't feel like skipping chapters, because I have read books that are multi points of view where it's I don't really care about one, so I'll just kind of skim it or skip it altogether. I did not get that with Cress, and even with Winter, where we're introduced to Winter and Jason, because in Cress we're rotating between, we start with Cinder and her group and Cress and Kai, and then Scarlet is taken, so I think Scarlet gets 3 or 4 chapters in this book. She doesn't get a lot because she's kidnapped, but so we have Scarlet, we have Cinder and Jason now, and Eco and Wolf. We have Cress and Thorn. We still have some of Kai. So we've got 4 people that we're rotating between. And like I said, I didn't get that, oh shoot, we're back to Kai or we're back to Cinder or whatever, because I really genuinely did like all of these characters, which is just such a testament to the author that she was able to write a total of 9 main characters and make you love each of them, or at least most of them. And the kiss. I loved their kiss so much. I honestly wish we would have gotten a little bit more of Thorne's point of view. We did get some, just like throughout the book, in his perspective, but especially after the kiss, because we're kind of given the impression, like through Cress's eyes, that it was just a favor, that he still isn't in love with her, that he still, is just this womanizing, flirty, charismatic guy who flirts and will date anybody. But then later in Winter, like, he's in love with her. I don't know. I would have liked to have gotten to see a little bit from him and see what his line of thought was, like, when he kissed her, and especially not being able to see her, because I'm pretty sure he's technically only, okay, no, he did see her for a split second when he came onto the pod ship. So he has technically seen her, but most of his relationship with Cress has been, he hasn't had his eyesight. So I think that was really cool that we got to see that, his feelings develop and grow without him seeing her. And we know that Thorne is a very visual person. He likes, pretty girls. He will flirt with a pretty girl. So if you're not pretty, he's not really going to go after you. Cress, he didn't have that connection to her. Granted, he did say she was cute when he first saw her, but he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to go after somebody because they're, like, cute. Like, I don't know, maybe, but I feel like he would have to go after somebody who's, like, beautiful or something, because he's beautiful, and beautiful people can go after beautiful people. That's just the laws of nature, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I wish we would have gotten an ending chapter with him, or from his perspective, just specifically on his feelings toward her. That would have been really cool. But we didn't. That's okay. We did get a really good kiss with Kai and Cinder finally, which is technically their second kiss because they did kiss at the ball, but Kai wasn't really into it, which was kind of weird. Wait, did they kiss in Cress? Yeah. Cinder finally, like, I don't want to say comes clean, because she wasn't lying to him. She just wasn't really, like, being forthcoming about it, which is fine. That's, just because you're talking to someone doesn't mean you have to tell them all the deep, dark secrets of your life. But she finally kind of, like, lays everything out on the table. I like that when he was asking her, like, no more secrets, is there anything else you have to tell me? And she's like, well, one, but I'm in love with you and I can't tell you that. I thought that was adorable. I feel like the last third of the book was just, like, non-stop action, whereas, like, the first 2/3, it's more story, which is fine. I love storybooks, but it's like we're figuring out, like, Cress and Thorne are trying to survive the desert, Cinder's trying to save Winter, or Cinder's trying to save Wolf, Scarlet has been taken by the thaumaturge. Like, stuff is happening, but it's more like setup. And then the last third, it's like, okay, boom, we're gonna stop the wedding, we're gonna kidnap Kai, like, it's all action. And then Cress has to, hack her way into the invitation list, and she gets Wolf to go with her as her husband, and Cinder sneaks in. There's just this whole, like, it had a very, like, Ocean's 11 type of vibe, where it was just, like, kind of sneaking in, doing this, Eco dressing up as the staff, Cinder kind of dressing up as the staff, them kidnapping Kai, them sneaking in, them having to glamour Torin. I don't know, it was really cool. I love that whole scene. And the brief, like I said, we only get, I think, 3 or 4 chapters of Scarlet in this book, and they're not super, like, extensive chapters. They're basically just kind of little hints. We get more of Scarlet in Winter, but we see just the cruelty of Levana's, mind. I did think it was odd that Scarlet just lost her finger. Like I would have thought Levana would have at least taken her hand. Like, that seemed kind of odd that she was literally just taken, like, this little bit off of her finger. That kind of felt a little bit off, that, like, she didn't lose more limb than just, like, the tip of her pinky, but whatever. I'm not gonna falter for that. I do like that we get more Jason, because I really like Jason. And I mentioned this when we were talking in Stars Above. I really like Jason. He gives me very, like, Grayson Hawthorne, almost Aaron Warner type vibes. Not nearly as intense as Aaron Warner, I don't think, but just that kind of, like, very serious, stoic, never got to be a child type of guy, which I kind of like. There's, like, this like, appeal to it. I can't really explain it, girls. If you know, you know. But I really like Jason, so I like that we get more dialogue from him. I like that he's a little bit more of a prominent character. We do finally get an explanation as to what a shell is, because we didn't, we were explained it a little bit in Fairest, but up until now, we don't really know what a shell is. So a shell is a lunar who doesn't have the ability to glamour people, or be glamored. So Jason, who can't glamour people because his gift is so weak. His gift is technically still there, I think. It's just so weak that it's basically useless, and he can still be manipulated. When Dr. Erlon meets Cress again, figures out who she is, figures out the connection, he realizes that it's the shells who have this special part in their blood that is how the Lunars have been making the antidote for the blue plague. Letumosis, whatever you want to call it. So he figures that out. He's able to convey all of that to Cinder, who then relays it to Kai right before he tragically dies of the plague, which was very sad. It brought things back from Cinder, because in Cinder he mentions, oh, Lavanna took my crescent moon. I kind of totally missed that the first time that I read it, but then reading it in Cress, it's like, oh my gosh, he was actually like, this is Cress, crescent moon. That's her. My heart literally broke for him, especially because he wanted to keep her. It wasn't like he wanted to get rid of her and then changed his mind, although I would still feel bad for him at that point if he came to true repentance and realized the error of his ways. But from the beginning, he didn't ever want to lose his daughter, and his wife did, and Sybil did, and so he was literally just robbed of any ability to save Cress, and that just broke my heart. I can't even imagine being put in that position, but they were able to reunite for a few precious seconds. He told her who he was. Cress kind of has this moment of oh, I should be upset because he's my dad, but I don't really know him, so I'm not upset. We had a good moment there. She and Thorn had a really sweet moment kind of talking about that. To get back on the Rampion, back up into the sky with Kai, who's knocked out. Kai and Cinder finally have their kiss, because they did have a first kiss at the ball in the Commonwealth in Cinder. Somewhat against Kai's will. I like that Kai kind of asks her, wait a second, are you manipulating me right now? And she's like, no. And then he kisses her. I thought that was really cute. So yeah, just a very good, well-rounded book. I love this book so much. I love it so much. I love Thorn. I love Cress. Cress is my favorite. Well, okay, Thorn's my favorite guy. Cress is my favorite girl. I relate to Cress the most. And so I just liked reading about this awkward girl who's endearing. I don't know, it gave me hope that being awkward cannot automatically be a bad thing, that it can kind of be cute. But I don't know, on Cress it's cute, on me probably not. But that is where we're going to end today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next week for the last book of the series, which is Winter.